Yeah, so we have a very heavy topic of discussion today. We're talking Carmelo Anthony and everything that's surrounding the story. But first off, on a lighter note, we have a Ask Tracy. Okay. So, Ask Tracy, how do I tell my girlfriend I chose the wrong sister? Oh my God. Y'all be sending me the worst as Tracy's. But okay. First off, this is very, very toxic. Um, and second, when did you realize you had the wrong sister? Like you would think that's something that you would recognize, initially, but it seems like it took you a while. But how do you tell your girlfriend? Um, I would just be honest and say, hey, I see the way your sister does things, and I think whatever was instilled in y'all, it benefited this sister more than you. So therefore, I've been gathering these real authentic emotions for your sister. So in conclusion, I think I want to go ahead and go with your sister. I think that's the best advice I could give you. Let me know your thoughts. How'd I do? Now proposing, I wouldn't trust it. If I was the sister, I would not trust you. Like proposing me after you just revealed to me that you want my sister. I wouldn't accept the proposal because I would just think you would just do that to me. And then next up, you'll want my friend. And then after the friend, you're going to want the friend's cousin. It's like, I wouldn't trust you. I just feel like, you would be like a Rolling Stone or something. Okie dokie. So, how did I do? Let me know in the chat. But yes, s- let me know if there's any more Ask Tracy's. I will ask it up next. But let's go ahead and go into the topic of discussion. G3 said I'm cooked. Oh my gosh. I tried, okay? I tried. Thank you for liking up the live. We're almost at 1,000 likes. Before we get into some more music, I have to get into the topic of discussion. And that is everything surrounding Carmelo Anthony. We're about to yeah, we're about to get into this heavy topic. So let's get into it. I'm sorry, I got a text message. Okay. So if you all don't know, but back in April 2025, both teenagers were at a track meet. Okay, so imagine we're back in high school and we're at a track meet. So back in 2025, both teenagers were at a track meet. According to testimony, Anthony was sitting under another school's tent during a weather delay. Metcalf and others told him he needed to leave. An argument started. Metcalf reportedly put his hands on Anthony during the confrontation. Anthony then pulled a knife and stabbed Metcalf in the chest. Metcalf later died from the wound. Now, the chaos that is surrounding this entire um, case, was this self defense or was it murder? I don't know if I can say these specific things on TikTok. Was it self defense or was it murder? Now, Anthony's attorneys argued self defense. Prosecutors argued that pulling a knife and delivering a fatal stab wound was not justified by what happened. Now, what was the verdict? Now, this was released yesterday. The jury found Anthony guilty of murder. Now, he was sentenced to 35 years in prison. The jury rejected defense arguments that could have resulted in a much lighter sentence. He is actually eligible for parole, I believe, after 17 years. Don't let me know if I'm getting wrong. Um, so I want to ask your thoughts. Do you think it was self defense or was it murder? Now reading the chat, G3 said free him. Davon said it was self defense. G3 mentioned that it was a whole white courtroom. It was over before it started. Now, um, Should I keep reading or should I get into it? I'm gonna keep reading it and then I'm gonna share my thoughts and I'm gonna reply to everybody's comments. So, why are people so divided? Now, this is where the story gets real complicated. There are really three different arguments happening at once. Some people believe Anthony was touched at first. He feared being attacked, and Texas has strong self defense laws. Therefore, he should not have been convicted. Others believe being pushed or touched doesn't justify deadly force. A knife escalated the situation. The response was disproportionate. Now, the debate became one of self defense without question. Now, the debate became one of the biggest parts of the trial. Now, the race arguments. Let's state the obvious. Anthony is a young black boy. Metcalf was white. Now, because of that, many people immediately viewed the case through a racial lens. After the verdict, some supporters argued the justice system treated Anthony unfairly and pointed to the fact that there were no black jurors on the final jury. Others argue race should not matter and that the case should be judged solely on the evidence presented. Here we go, y'all. Here we go. And like I said, this is very hard for me to discuss because I have a burning um sense of activism inside of me. And before I say my thoughts and I respond to y'all in the chat, I want to say this. When we are discussing serious matters like this, such as cases and like um race and everything, I've realized that I'm loving all the discussion surrounding it because these are things that we need to talk about. But we need to take out our emotions, okay? We need to be logical. We need to take out our emotions. We need to look at everything that was presented. One thing, whose case are we discussing? Carmelo Anthony in Texas. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm getting heated. We got to take emotion out of this, okay? We just got to be logical and look at the evidence provided. Everybody in the chat is saying that it was self-defense. It was self-defense. I want to tell you guys what I think. I agree. Um, Unfortunately, in the judicial system, they go by these, specific things. But I always firmly go with street knowledge. Like, I'm not from the streets, y'all, but I'm saying, like, just in the streets. If you put your hands on somebody, you need to be ready for anything that comes your way. That's just street knowledge, okay? If I were to put my hands on somebody, if I were to jump somebody and they pulled out a GUN on me, I cannot be upset that that person pulled a weapon out on me. Um, and that's just how I feel. The fact that Anthony was found guilty, now granted, nobody should be losing their lives. I'm sorry to the family of this boy. Nobody should lose their child. Um, and there's a lot of things to look at. There is the fact that this boy put his hands on Anthony first. And then also my thing is where were the chaperones or the people watching that event? Now I feel like we could blame them as well, because these are kids. And if y'all remember in high school, I'm sure y'all witnessed a whole lot of crazy in high school, okay? I know I witnessed a white boy jumping off a table and jumping the black boy when he's on the ground. Like, I witnessed a whole lot of violence in high school. And the people, the how would have to come break it up, you know? And when we're at lunch, because this was happening during lunch, we have people watching us, right? So that's why when you're a child and there's those adults in the room, they are there to make sure everything runs smoothly. And these are kids. These are kids. Kids are not, they don't have that frontal lobe developed and, like, problem solving. Like, they don't have a lot of that stuff developed. Like, let's be real. So, like I said, I don't think anybody should have lost their life. I'm sorry to that boy and his family, but at the same time, and I'm gonna hit it right here. We have to stop acting like race is not a factor in these court systems. We have to stop acting like you know this is not a thing. And I'm somebody that believes, I'm about to read y'all's comments, but I'm somebody that believes that honesty is the biggest thing us as people can do. You know, a lot of problems that are in this world, it's because people are not honest with themselves. Um, and when I say that, I say all that to say is in this court system, it says, I forgot what it says in the, somebody help me out here. Through law or something, everybody is, I forgot what the word is. But I say all that to say is we have to be real that race is not a make or break in this world, or if something happens to somebody, if they are a young black boy or whatever verdict comes out, it is not based on race. Or even if the people are on jury, if this is a black boy that's getting this verdict and then there's a bunch of white people in the jury, we cannot act like these things don't matter. And that's what I'm saying. G3 said he needed a better lawyer. Now, I don't know if a better lawyer could have helped him. It is the state of Texas. Josh Banton said, preach. Josh said high school was a precursor to the crazy world we live in today. I know that's right. G3 said, I'm from the hood. I stayed with a weapon in school, so I get it. Oh, really? You stayed with a weapon in school? Because that's another thing, too. When I read the story, of course, my immediate question was, why did this boy have a knife on him? You know? And I feel like that's where things really got rocky for him in the situation. Like, why did you have a weapon on you while you're at school? But maybe he's, like G3. He always felt like he had to have a weapon on him. Um, yeah, but that's all the information we have. Of course, I was wondering, like, okay, did him and these boys have an issue before? But none of that was presented. G3 said only thing he should be in trouble for is, I guess, having a weapon. Dave Davon said no matter what race, exactly, no matter what race. G3 said if he was constantly getting bullied, I would understand why he'd have one. Yeah. You listen, with these kids in high school, like from what I remember, these kids go through a lot when they are in high school. Like they are going through a lot. They don't know what the heck is going on. They don't know nothing, okay? I'm not saying these kids are dumb or they're not exposed to certain things, but they don't know how to handle situations. They're not taught that. But then again, it's crazy he did have a weapon on him. It is sad that that boy passed away. But at the same time, where were the people at this track meet? And why were they not monitoring these kids? That's the question that I have. Um, G3 said if he was constantly getting bullied, I would understand why he'd have one. Banton said they got to understand race is always a part of the evidence, whether convert or overtly. And Josh, this is something I agree with. I feel like a lot of things need to be rewritten. Y'all know I'm just a media person, okay? I think I had one law class when I was in college. I'm just a communications major. But from life and just seeing all of these um just examples of like the courts and Trayvon Martin and like all these different things, race is never something on paper, because it's a real thing. Um it's a make or break in this world, whether people like it or not, or whether people want to accept it or not. G3 said, give him 2 years and call it quits, plain and simple. Davon said, why should race be included? Since the beginning of time, since the beginning of this country, your skin color, the race that you are, is a make or break in the trajectory of your lineage based off of history. And unfortunately, we still have people in this world that still see people as such. That's my answer. That's my answer. Um, but yes, let's talk about the social media argument. So the case exploded online. People began choosing sides before the trial was over. Some narratives portrayed Anthony as a victim, others portrayed him as an obvious murderer. Social media turned a local tragedy into a national culture war debate, and that's why you're seeing such strong emotions from both sides. Now, what most people actually agree on? One thing that's often lost in the arguments: two teenagers' lives were destroyed. Austin Metcalf lost his life. Carmelo Anthony will spend decades in prison, and two families are deeply devastated. Even among people who disagreed on the verdict, many agree it's a tragedy, and I agree with that. I'm hurt for both sides. I'm hurt for this world, and I'm hurt for this court system. I'm hurt. Like, even like me just talking about it right now, like I can't help but to admit that I am hurt. G3 said he was chilling and they came to bully him. If he wanted to hurt the person, he would have just did it. I'm not saying it should be, we're saying how the world is based off of history. But, and that's why I'm gonna always favor like street common sense or street knowledge off of the court system. And I'm just gonna stand firm on that. If you put your hands on somebody, you should expect anything to come with that. Anything, anything, anything. And kids need to learn to keep their hands to themselves. I remember in high school how every time like kids would fight, it was always like a big show. Do y'all remember that? Let me know in the chat. Josh said, especially as a father of three. Listen, I'm a father of two, and I'm gonna warn my daughter and my son of this stuff, and this is real. And once them kids get in high school, it gets real tricky. But like I was saying, in high school, when kids would fight, that's how you would gain your popularity in high school. If you were somebody that didn't fight, you were not a popular kid, like you are not a cool kid. So often kids in high school would feel pressured to fight. Um, so when these kids would fight, it would just be like, just a crowd around them and like just cheering things on. So in high school, kids learn fighting is the way to like your success in a way. Um in high school, I remember somebody like banged the kid's head against the brick wall, and then the blood was just everywhere and they had to go to the hospital. Now, did this kid go to jail? No, got suspended. But that person that got their head banged against that wall, they could have died. And that's nothing. The could have, right? I don't think we take that could have serious enough. Like, these kids should not be fighting, period, point blank. These kids should not be putting their hands on people, period, point blank. And they should be learned that at an early age. Keep your hands to yourself and you will live a long life. But if you put your hands on people, expect whatever to come with that. And I feel like that should be law. Okay? Josh said 100%. Low key teaching some false sense of power and respect. Like I said, and to close this out, I want to ask you guys, how do you feel on the verdict personally? Um, yeah, personally. And also, um, these kids need to keep their hands to themselves. We are going to play a song and then we're going to get back into a report on TikTok. Yeah, G3 said F whoever was in that courtroom. Mm-mm-mm. And I'm sure ain't not one of them white people understand. If you put your hands on somebody, you gotta expect what comes with it. Okay, let's move into some how are we gonna lighten this? Let's do that Stand on It by Josh Banton since he's in the chat. And then we are going to play a video.
Oh yeah, yeah,
We're gonna play a video and then we're gonna close this out. We got 10 minutes left.
Oh yeah,
Let's lighten up the emotions.
Look, well, you know we had to run it back. I took the ball and ran with it like a running back. And now we gearing up, we about to bring the sun on my back. I've been scarred, been bruised, yeah, I'm done with that. Rapping for the Lord, so it come with that. Outside with it, let me repeat it. This time here with my brother, he on the remix. Put on the full armor of God, devil be scheming. Straight from Ephesians, I got peace, shout out to Jesus. I'ma bring the Holy Spirit up to summer jam. God told me he gon' ride for me, word up, I'm advanced. Thought I was cooked, but he giving me another chance. And this what happens when the sinner meets the son of man. Top 10, they pop pills, I drop real. And I'ma stand on it when I say that my God real. Even